I'm Tommy, and you were on the lifeboat. I am sorry. I'm running about a minute or two late. Not usually my style unless I'm on the other channel with my wife, and usually it's her fault. Roberta, good to see you. Mike Bragg, what's happening? David Bully, Wendy R. Renee B, good to see you. But this time I was actually late because of me. You see, I was banging my head against the wall. Shannon, good to have you here. And I'm not joking. This has been one of the most epic wastes of my time you can possibly imagine. Burnsy25, glad you're here. Hey, Jamie Cotton. Here's my issue. I live in South America, as many of you know. You can probably tell from the laid-back outfit. But I am a Ecuadorian. So I live in Ecuador these days, full-time, becoming a full-time citizen of Ecuador. That means it's very hard to get Fox in Ecuador. Nora Blaine, good to see you. I had to spend a ludicrous amount of time and enough money to buy about a dozen tomahawk steaks in Ecuador in order to get Harvey Levin's TMZ documentary on TMZ Investigates, documentary on the Rob Reiner and the Nick Reiner case. Michelle and Rob, I'm sorry. Jennifer Mitten, good to see you. Raspberry Beret, what's happening? I like to say Michelle and Rob. I think it may have been my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, who recommended that first. I don't know if that's the case. For some reason, I believe that is the case. Sharon, what she said, hello, Sharon. She said, it seems sad to me that she gets lost in this. It's the Rob Reiner murder case. So I try to say Michelle and Rob Reiner. It just seems to me that she is being lost. When do I get full citizenship? Well, I've got my the equivalent of my green card. So now I just have to spend about another year and a half here. And at that point, I can file for my citizenship. And about a year later, I get my cool brown passport, right? Sort of a reddish brown. And I can tour any place that is between that passport and the United States. I can go basically anywhere in the world and not have to worry about, couldn't you just use a VPN? Well, you would think so. But so here's what ended up happening. I just bought a streaming service, which pisses me off. Not because I had to buy a streaming service. It's not that big a deal. And by the way, I did use the VPN, but the VPN wouldn't allow me to do it without using a streaming service. It wouldn't allow me to go just directly to the Fox affiliate in LA. It just doesn't kind of work that way. And I tried it about 9 different ways. Hello, Audra in Denver. But I felt like this is a documentary I had to see. I'm talking a lot about this case. God help us. I wish I had spent the hour and a half it took to get the documentary and the hour I wasted on it. Harvey Levin, you're not going to see this, but just on the outside chance, you suck. This dude spent days building this thing up, right? Dropping shorts, doing interviews, talking about how, wait till you hear why they changed his medication. It's mind-blowing. It makes no sense. Well, we still don't know. It was kind of a nothing burger. And I know that that's an offensive term because it wasn't around when I was younger, and most of the terms that weren't there when I was younger kind of offend me. But it was a nothing burger. There was nothing there. There was, Laura Lou says, oh, no, she's asking, oh, it stinks? Oh, yeah, it stinks. Here's the thing. He teased stuff about he was going to give us more info about the fact that he was probably trying to get away. Or no, that isn't what he said. That's what I said. What he said is he was going to show us sort of a post meditation, right? Knowing that you did something wrong, because the new narrative is this. Oh, he knows he killed them. He knows it was wrong, but he doesn't understand the nature of it. I'm going to run that by you one more time. He doesn't understand the nature of the crime that he knew was wrong. Are you kidding me? I mean, honestly, they're going to sell us this. This is a narrative that is going to get pushed. And what really sucks is this to me. Well, look, I'm going to do a really deep dive tomorrow, and I'm going to pull it out apart, part by part. But there were no bombshells. The only one that even remotely smelled like it might be a bombshell is he said something along the lines, hey, Johnny Scoville, he said something along the lines of, I believe they were killed in 2 different rooms. Kind of sounds like a bit of a bombshell. But every single place that you can chase this down, it has been reported by legitimate sources, not just by YouTubers and people like me with opinions or whatever. It's been reported they were found in the same bed. So maybe Harvey knows that one of them got killed in another room and then carried up and put in the bed. Before all of the stuff got sealed, it listed Michelle Reiner as a widow. Did you catch that? It listed Michelle Reiner as the widow, which would lead us to believe, as I have said, and I am, thank you, David Bully. He says, great, because I'm watching Tommy Scoville. I appreciate that. But this is something that I've been talking about this. Everybody talks about this. If you've ever been in a fist fight, and if you've ever been unfortunate enough to be in a fist fight with a couple of people, you're not going to punch the weaker of the two. You're always, and this is human nature. It's not a decision that's made. Men, going back to cavemen, realize that you need to take out the biggest threat, right? This is why the whole the show I did the other night on the Green Beret murders. They go in 4 deep and decide to kill the woman before they kill the man. That one doesn't pass the smell test, but that's I digress. So that's the bombshell. Now he says, which would lead me to believe this is the dude with all the sources in the world, and this is how he's been pitching this hog shit of a documentary for the last, I don't know, a couple of days, really pushing it hard, going on Ashley Banfield, which was an interesting interview. Unfortunately, there was just nothing. Here's the thing, too. If you watch this, they're sitting in a boardroom, and he's sitting across from a blonde woman that is just articulate to beat hell, and she's describing the disorder that this gentleman has, and describing just how bad the symptoms can be and whatnot, and why this could lead to. You'd almost think she was a doctor. You'd almost think that this was her line of work. She's just a producer from TMZ. And they're sitting in a boardroom making it sound like they're doing some kind of freaking interview. And I'll be really honest with you, I'm offended. I am. He certainly has a better production value than I do. and just about anybody else out there. And I don't know, man. TMZ broke stories. They used to do things that really got your attention. And that's how they pushed this chunk of shit. And there's no blowback. This is one of the unfortunate things about media today. No matter how bad you do what you do, there's never going to be anybody to call you about it. I did shows, and some of you are new. We've been fortunate to get a bunch of subscribers lately. So many of you may not have seen this, but I did a show where I talked about what you can get away with on YouTube. Twilla, you look fantastic in green. Thank you for the support. It really means the world to me. But what's a nice way to do this? Honestly, I don't know that there's a nice way to do this. So anyway, I covered a show where I talked about American pickers. I was about to bag on the big red button, but I've done a couple of shows trashing YouTube, so I won't call them a crappy platform and a bunch of hypocrites, because that would be, well, I'm just not going to do it. It's not kosher, so to speak. But the problem is that the American Pickers show, one of the two people, they didn't get along, and they kind of went their separate ways. It was a very long-running show, a reality show, where two guys, a man by the name of Frank Fritz and a man by the name of Michael Wolf, would go on the road. They had a business that they owned together called Antique Archaeology. They would go around the country and stop at closed down businesses, stop at people that hoarded stuff, motorcycle dealerships that went out of business, just all kinds of strange places, some of them historical. And they would dig through garages and huge warehouses full of really old, rusty stuff and pull out really cool things. And they would talk about them and educate the people. It was a hell of a lot of fun to actually watch. One of the only shows I watched in prison ever was American Pickers. There have been videos that have been put out where a guy gets 500,000 views, another video about it where a guy gets 3.5 million views, saying Frank Fritz was actually murdered. The guy, after they kind of went their separate ways, passed away. And the headline, and it shows the guy from Fox News. The other one shows the person from CNN. And then what looks like it's on the screen, right? It's just photoshopped in there or AI'd or whatever. But you get 3.5 million views with a headline that says, Mike Wolf sentenced to life in prison. This dude's never been arrested. The guy died of natural causes. It's absolute, complete, and utter horseshit, right? So, but it's still up on YouTube. It went up in April. You read the comment section, people were like, he didn't get arrested. He didn't get arrested. What are you guys talking about? This is bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. It goes all the way down. If you do the math on 3.5 million views, even if you're getting really small money, as in for your the payout per thousand, right? Thank you again, Twill. Yeah, we're going to go with TWI. Really appreciate it. Later, I promise I'll go back and try to do that phonetically. Right now, I kind of feel, unintelligent. It looks hella real. This is something right now that's taking over YouTube. And here's the unfortunate part. They made about $21,000. If you go with the average payout per 1,000 views, that's a video that made low end 18,000, mid-range 21, maybe a high of 23, depending on what their payout is per 1,000. It varies by creator. But that's terrifying, because now bigger platforms realize that they can go on there and say just about anything. But the better thing to do is to say nothing. Harvey Levin teased this thing like, bombshells are coming. You're not going to believe this. And none of it was real. Good Lord, it's the wife. Everybody kill game. Change the subject. So I'm watching this Yankee game. I'm kidding. Hey, babe, good to have you here. Voila, I knew that. I said that earlier. See that? That's the wife coach in me. That's a keeper. You're a good woman, Reese. I'm glad that you are here. Yeah, I said Twilla. This is an absolute sham. It really is. And the guy ought to be ashamed of himself. And normally I've said this a million times. He's got an angle. He's trying to push a narrative. And make no mistake, he's pushing a narrative. And the narrative is, believe it or not, one we've been talking about forever, that this is a guy that isn't guilty because he's insane. Now, he may have known what he was doing. He may have known that he may have known that it was wrong to kill his parents. But in the California sense of the word, there's also that, but you have to understand the nature. That's like saying, literally, it's the same thing twice. What does that mean? If you understand the nature of what you did, then you know it was wrong. Not according to Heart of 11. You can know it's wrong, try to cover it up, premeditate it, and still not be guilty. To me, that sounds like a little bupkis. And to be honest with you, I'm disappointed, especially because I spent a hell of a long time sort of parking my carcass, right? Hold on one second. Sorry. Thank you. Oh, man. You know what? I got to do this really quickly. Hey, I'm live right now, but that's the coolest message that anyone has ever left me. I love you. I really do. Thank you. You know what's funny is Spanx Calhoun, my son, he has a show at Calhoun's Corner. He just sent me a text and said they're talking about dual diagnosis. They're talking about all of the things that needed to be treated if people are hurting and how they failed and this and that. And he said, thanks for not failing me. I wasn't a good enough father to get that message. I'm not going to lie to you. But what they're trying to do in this documentary is kind of twofold. One, it isn't his fault, right? It's not his fault. And then Harvey's going to throw a couple of political jabs in at Trump. I don't much care. I really don't. I just think it's low freaking budget. And I don't care which side you're taking a hit on. We're tuning in because we're trying to avoid that shit. We could go all over the internet and find people that hate one candidate or hate one party because hate is the defining characteristic of America. They would have you believe whites hate blacks. If your skin color is not the same, you hate each other. If this person believes that you can have an abortion and this person doesn't, then you have to hate each other. And if you vote left and this person votes right, you know what, man? I'm not interested. So I go out and I search things out that don't have anything to do with that, right? Because I don't want to be programmed. That's why I moved to this country. I don't hate any American. I don't care who you voted for. I don't hate anybody because of their skin color. Someone said to me, I swear to God, called me this racist, this and that. I'm like, I moved to a country where there's 9 people that are white. Yeah, I'm a racist idiot. I'll tell you what. This was just a disappointment of a piece of crap. And I beat on Harvey Levin a lot. Today, in fact, I did a show about Sean Diddy Combs not getting out of prison. I did a show where we talked about what Trump said in an interview about him going, I'm not letting him out. And I'm not letting him out because he talks shit about me. I'm paraphrasing, but I swear to you, that's not that far off. It's a New York Times article. He didn't say, what this man did is disgusting. He said, nah, he really hurt my feelings, right? And I said to people, this guy ain't going to pardon him. And it's got nothing to do with the crimes. He talked crap about Trump, and Trump holds a very long grudge. Before anybody bails, because I'm an anti-Trumper, I voted for the guy. I'm anti-shit. I mean it. And I don't mean I'm not anti-anything. I mean, I can't stand crap. I can't stand crap in any direction. I can hate my party on Monday like what they do on Tuesday. If you're not that person, start journaling. You and Johnny do great live streams and very knowledgeable. I appreciate the hell out of that. Here's the thing. I don't know how knowledgeable I am, but I can research the hell out of stuff. I tried to watch Fox News, but it wouldn't let me. Not on my cable. You know what, Sunshine Lady? You were happy you didn't watch that. Honest to God. Because here's the thing. As I've said, he's always pushing a narrative. So he's trying to say in this documentary, hey, it's not this kid's fault. And let me be the one to tell you that because I'm an expert, right? I tend to disagree. He would say things in the video like, this is not Nick's fault, right? Then he would say, Nick trashed the parents' guest house, right? Because he mixed some drugs with his other medication. I got news for you. If you're mixing that drug, it is your fault. I don't care if you're mentally ill or not. In the eyes of the law, in the eyes of the court, when you chose to take that drug, whatever the hell happens after that, you don't get a pass on that. That would be every defense in the entire world. I spent a little time in prison. I'm not going to lie to you. And everybody in there is in there for drugs. I was a bank robber. I wasn't robbing banks to drive Ferraris like the guys in the movies. I was robbing banks to pay my drug habit. I was a heroin addict, right? It's astounding to me how narratives change. The other thing that he just has to push is that he's going to be the dude that tells you everything that happens in this case. And if this case gets boring, they're going to lose a shitload of money. Just the way it is. I said last night on the show that I did, talking about the Reiner bombshells that were coming. When I was on there last night, I was talking about, well, first of all, I talked about a lot of stuff. Hey, look at that. Reese and her brother-in-law. I'm disgusted, honest to God, disgusted at how much this stuff has just become a business. You know, I said last night we were talking about like in the days where there were newscasters and you sat down, where a lot of us are the same age as me. At 6 o'clock at night, 6:30, depending on where you were, your parents dropped ass in a chair and watched the one news channel that they could watch. Once this became about selling Ferraris and selling, you know, Mercedes-Benz or selling a new workout pant or an energy drink or whatever the hell is running ads on the big news stations, it's over. And Harvey Levin, I'm sorry, is a bottom feeder at this point. He is. To build this up the way he did, he has a vested interest in this case staying interesting, and he's going to do everything within his power to make that happen. P. Taylor, good to see ya. Oh, Spanx will love that. I love it. Will the doctor get sued for changing Nick's meds? Well, I'll tell you what. Once we know what that unbelievable reason is, the one that makes absolutely no sense, the one that Harvey has led us to believe that he was going to tell us on this stupid documentary. And again, as I was saying the other night, this happened on the 15th, 14th into the 15th. We don't know because they won't give us the time of death, right? But rigor started to set in. And they like to drop that to mean, well, it's been 12 hours. Rigor sets in quick as hell, man. Now, and I don't mean you're aboard, and I'm not trying to be, anyway. It can start happening within 4 or 5 hours to the point where you'll know that they're stiffening up, right? There's an enzyme or some shit. I don't remember what it is. Someone will correct me, though. It passed me in the Diddy trial, and Garagos and Diddy back throughout the entire, look, here's the deal, man. Mark Garagos has a show that he goes on with Harvey Levin. It's called Two Angry Old Men. And you know what? That should be a problem. In the Diddy case, they had to go into court and talk about it. But I talked about this yesterday, man. They managed to beat that because I have a podcast, which I'm allowed to do, and I'm going on your huge-ass platform that goes out to millions and millions of people, where my podcast might hit 20,000, right? Not me, Garagos. But he comes together with Harvey Levin for the Two Angry Old Men. And he's not going on a nationally syndicated show. They're doing a joint podcast. Hey, man, run your hustle. But there are reasons that there are laws that you can't go out. If you're tied to a case, you can't be going on national shows and talking about it. This is Diddy's advisor, Mark Garagos. I'm tired of seeing him on other people's, huge networks or whatever. Here's a guy that's going to give us some advice, and he's going to talk about this. You're still with Diddy, you scumbag? Honest to God, how do you not bail on that predator? You want to keep getting paid from Diddy? I don't want to hear you on any network. Honest to God, he comes on, I change the freaking channel. I'm not watching Mark Garagos talk about anything. He's been with Diddy so damn long, you want me to believe he doesn't know who Diddy is? Seriously. This is why people make jokes like if you had a gun, right, and you had 2 bullets in it, but you had Hitler, you had Pol Pot, and you had a lawyer, what would you do? Well, you'd shoot the lawyer twice, right? There's a reason these jokes, hey, Ann from Mass, there's a reason these jokes come up. And it's because they honestly seem like every one of them sold their soul to the friggin' devil. Mark Garagos, shame on you. Honest to God, shame on you. I mean, yeah, you know what? Your daughter takes a case. Everybody deserves a defense. But why the hell are you still with Diddy, you lowlife? God help us. And Harvey Levin ain't this much better. This crap he pushed out to us tonight literally made me want to vomit. And if you haven't seen it, I was going to say I'll save you the time. No. If I had to sit through this, you're true crime people, go watch it. Honestly, I was going to say I'll save you the time. I'm not being disrespectful, but we're true crime people. When something cool happens and we can report on it, we can talk about it, that's a cool thing. When you got to sit through something like that, I shouldn't have to do it myself. I don't mind doing the research stuff, but if I got to sit through that crap, I think all of you should too. I was in the medical field. I would not tell the world someone's diagnosis. Well, you know what? Hold on one second. If the doctor changes meds and the patient is taking illegal drugs, it's unlikely the doctor is responsible unless he's self-reported. Well, and here's the theory, right? Either he self-reported or a dual diagnosis clinic, which means drug addiction is one of the diagnoses. The other is usually mental illness of some kind. In this case, the type of schizophrenic disorder that this cat had, right? Nevertheless, they weren't piss testing him. And if they did, is that why they changed the medication? Who knows? Because Harvey told us he was going to tell us and didn't. Rest in peace, Michelle and Rob. Justice will be served. I agree with you, Sunshine Lady. I honest to God believe with you. This is something. So here's the other thing that's leaking out. And I'm just going to tell you because if not, you're going to see it somewhere else and you're going to go, Tommy, why didn't you report on this? It's being leaked. Allegedly, because I'm not running with stories I can't back up, but I will tell you it's being repeated all over the place right now, is that Romy and her brother went, nope, we're not paying for this. We're not paying for this. Rob Reiner was unbelievably against the death penalty and loud as hell about it, right? He had a young man that, he's not a young man anymore, but he was in the eyes of Rob Reiner. But when he was a kid, he shot somebody in Houston, or allegedly shot somebody. Turns out that the bullet didn't come from that gun. The guy's still incarcerated, but Rob and Michelle Reiner were supporting this man in a lot of ways. Most of which, the financial stuff, who cares? You can't spend more than $300 a month in prison, right? But the other end of it, like the support of going around the country and talking about this guy's case and trying to get him out. It has been reported on NBC that they said, if you get out of prison, you can come and live with us. They viewed this man as a son, and all of the people in the family talked to him, including Nick. And allegedly, Nick was kind of helpful. He would ask him questions. He would tell him things. But something happened, especially according to Harvey Levin, and he would lie. But something happened about a month ago that was no bueno, right? He started going off the rails. I believe Harvey said out of his head. Yeah, you know something? The weight gain thing is absolutely hysterical. Harvey says weight gain caused them to change the medication. That's literally one of the dumbest things. If that's the truth, yeah, they could get sued. Because check anybody that takes these medications, right? TMZ is not in a position to report on a case like it's gospel truth. Had they interviewed the family of the doctors who treated Nick, I can believe it. Here's the thing. 90% of this documentary, you know. If you've been following this case this much, I don't mean deep diving, getting into stuff. They're going to, if by some chance weight gain was an issue, if you look at most of the medications that they give, like things like Halidol or whatever, it's going to slow your metabolism down. It's just, these people turn into zombies. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, because once they get the medication correct, you will see people that live a very normal life. Where I was doing time was in prison, and they didn't give a shit if they got the medication right. They just didn't want the guy hitting someone in the head with a lock or stabbing him. So they would dope him up to beat shit on Halidol, and the guys would sit around like this. And, everyone would be walking out of the unit for a fire drill, and you have to go shake them and go, hey, time to get up. It's, I don't believe anything Harvey Levin says at this point. And he drops just enough shit. I talked about this the other night, and I hope people went and checked it out. But the interview he did with Ashley Banfield, when she asks him directly, have you been in contact with Alan Jackson to hear exactly why he left? And Harvey goes, I think the reason that he left, he could have said, no, I haven't talked to him. Or yes, I have, but I can't talk about what he said or anything else. He wants us to think he talked to the guy. He wants us to believe that. He's an epic salesman. Harvey is a freaking performer. He's good at it. He's been doing this a very, very long time, and he's super damn effective. But if you're just somebody that hangs out and watches Fox and and Friends, or you watch CNN and you don't really catch a lot of news in this genre, you're not into true crime, you're not trying to critical think this shit. You just know that Michelle and Rob Reiner died, and you go, oh man, that sucks. And you're of an age that you're not hanging out on YouTube or whatever. You go and watch this on Fox, every Fox affiliate you're ever going to see, this is going to be all huge shit. You're going to be like, wow. My audience usually are not made up of those people. This is a crowd of individuals that are into true crime. That's why, you're not coming by here for my sterling singing voice. We talk about true crime. To people that follow this, to people that have been following this much, everything you know is already in that documentary, with the exception maybe of the fact that, according to Harvey Levin, they were found in two different rooms, right? Which again, If you do a little research, this isn't hard to do, right? You can ask AI to pull up every article that's been written on this where it references that. And then you can start going and reading all those articles. That is what I do. Nowhere does anyone say anything even remotely like that. So maybe there's a disinformation campaign. And maybe that's why Nick thinks this is a big conspiracy against him. And they have to sell that. People go, you know what? Here's why. Because nobody can back it up. You're not going to get in there and you're not going to interview this kid. Correct? There's no chance of that happening. So we're all set to sit here and speculate. But Harvey Levin can pop up as if he knows everything that is going on. And if you want to paint a narrative that a guy knows that what he did was wrong, but he has no idea that that is a bad thing, right? He doesn't understand the nature of the crime that he knew was wrong. He could have premeditated it, and Harvey likes to reference a case in Canada where a man killed his 11-year-old son, choked him, sat down, watched HBO for 6 hours, then called the police and told them that he just murdered his son. But he was found not guilty. There are bad rulings all over the planet. For real. And you'll notice that anytime we talk about certain issues, one of them would be not guilty by reason of insanity. People go, is there a chance he's ever going to get back on the street? Because that kind of bums me out. And people go, well, you could probably, if I gave you enough time, you could type it into the chat. But what they say is John Hinckley Jr., right? He shot Ronald Reagan because he wanted to bang what's her name? Jodie Foster. He literally shot the president of the United States because he watched Taxi Driver too many times. De Niro, you talking to me? Remember that? So he tries to shoot a politician at the end. He thought whacking Ronald Reagan with a pistol would get Jodie Foster to want to bang him. This is horrifying stuff, right? He was absolutely mentally ill. Or he was a MK Ultra dude. Either way, he certainly wasn't in his right mind. He did decades in prison. And then he was sent to, he was in and out of between it's not a prison. You can't leave. You're locked down. But it is a prison for people that are deemed, I guess criminally insane used to be the word. They don't say that anymore. It's not, it doesn't sound cool anymore. I'm sure they got a name with a shitload of syllables. Goes way the hell out. I don't know what it is, right? But he was in a mental institution for a very long time. And eventually he got out, right? Eventually he got out. And this is what they're going to cite every time they start talking about stuff. Because there aren't 400 examples of that kind of stuff, right? The people like to talk about Chuck Berry every single time they bring up the Mann Act. Because Chuck Berry epically got screwed by the Mann Act. And now Diddy has got the number of people that have been convicted between the two of them. But if something doesn't jump off the page at you, you're probably not going to talk about it. I think Nick may have, damn it all. Look, Harvey Levin's a lowlife. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead and sue me. The guy's a lowlife. I think Nick may have a better shot at swaying a judge than a jury. There's no chance of them doing that, though. I can't think of a case right now. Admittedly, I'm no law professor. I'm no lawyer. I can't think of a case for someone facing a death penalty where they went with just a judge instead of a jury. I'm not sure it's even possible, but I will research it and talk about it by the next show, I promise. Because honestly, he probably would be better off with a judge. And I'm not trying to get political, but I'll lose a couple of subs anyway. And he's also in a very left-leaning state. He's in the 9th Circuit, right? And this is no shit at all. If you're in the federal system, you can move from state to state to state, right? So if you've done nothing wrong and you haven't had a write-up for a year and a half, you can say, I kind of want to go to Sheridan, Oregon. Well, that's going to drop you into the 9th Circuit. There are guys that will try to get there to write paperwork to the government because you got a much better chance of being treated better in the 9th Circuit than, say, the 4th Circuit, right? So this is something that people do. He's in a super ass liberal state. And usually for criminals, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, right? If you're locked up, you don't want to be going in front of a right-leaning judge because they're very law and order. They're throw away the key, that kind of stuff. On the other side, they're far more likely to let you out of prison. So for that reason, people kind of push for that. He may be better off taking and rolling the dice with one person, but I will research whether or not you can pull that off. Because again, like I talked about on one of the other shows, you can go into court in the federal system the day of your arraignment and go, I'm guilty. And the judge will go, no, we're not doing that today. I promise you. So waiting for them to come in and plead guilty or not guilty, it's a formality. if you're not going to plead guilty there, the judge will go, you haven't had enough time to talk to your attorney to plead guilty to this. No, I want to plead guilty, Your Honor. Okay. We're going to enter a plea of not guilty, and we'll make sure that your public defender or your lawyer or whatever gets his ass up there or her ass up there in the next 7 days, because you need to really consider what you're about to do. So taking an arraignment that seriously, I wonder whether or not, I think it's something that they kind of demand a jury trial for. But I could be wrong, and the odds that a lawyer will see this, maybe they can correct me. So, again, just to recap, nothing in that documentary rocks your world. None of the stuff that they said that they were going to deliver, they delivered. It is a complete and utter waste of time. When they're sitting around and having discussions around a boardroom where it looks like Harvey is talking to an individual who's really, really smart or everything else, trust and believe. He's sitting in a room with one of the other producers from TMZ. This is just a very beautifully put together bullshit documentary. And I can't be mad at him. I mean, holy hell, what's it been, 3 weeks? To get a documentary up and running in 3 weeks is pretty damn impressive, especially when we have 3 weeks of information. I mean, to be honest, this ain't OJ. You know, the days where you turned on the TV and they were like, here's the 30 pieces of evidence they're going to be talking about. Those days are over. I talked about this on a show recently, but they keep talking about, why did this case get locked down? How come the information isn't getting leaked out? This is why. Right? This is why. And all of the people that you saw come on and say, it's called a security code, that's unheard of. I've never heard of that term. I know you people saw people say that. There's 100 or 200, I can't remember the exact number, that are currently on. Security holds happen constantly. But once again, that doesn't make as good a story. Their job is to get you back. It's no different than watching network news. Those huge ass platforms are just trying to sell ads, right? And you have to stay in line, especially depending on the platforms you go on. I mean, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. Can't talk about COVID. You can't say rape. You can't say sexual assault. You can't say suicide. They will not push your video. That's the end of you. But I'd rather jump in front of a bus than parole my own speech. It's not going to happen, man. 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4. Off topic, but I'm wondering how often a nurse gets assaulted in prison. I saw one, a male nurse, have feces and urine thrown on him. I've never seen any other. And that was 13 years. Never, ever saw it happen. It's not something that has ever happened where I did time. Should Nick go to prison or a mental hospital? You know what? Here's the deal on this. There's a common misconception among people that don't understand sort of how this works. If he goes to a mental hospital, he isn't going to be at a mental hospital in the sense of the word that we went to a hospital and they had that thing on the bed where you could adjust the television set. He's going to be in a prison, but there will be a lot more psychiatrists and psychologists and time working on him than there would ever be in a prison. But he isn't going to be in the Hilton. He's not going to be in a room in a hospital. The word hospital is kind of a misnomer in this. He's going to be in a lockdown unit that has constant internal wire, right? That barbed wire stuff, the razor wire, all over the place. There are going to be really high fences. There are going to be people in guard towers. It's not like, there may not be people in guard towers. That's usually only for maximum. But you're not walking out the front door, and you're sure as hell not raising the back of your bed up like you're in a hospital. So he probably needs to be in prison, even if they send him to a mental hospital, which I don't think is going to happen. I think his only shot at getting that, honestly, is if he's found not competent to stand trial. And there's a lot of rumors out there that he wouldn't work with the attorneys, that he was hostile and that he was, lashed out at them. And who knows, maybe he did. But the narrative is being spun, and the narrative is being spun by TMZ. If you are the go-to source with the kind of reach that he has, what do you think he's worth? And I don't mean that in what's his net worth. I mean, if you want to spin a narrative, you go to Harvey Levin and you go, I really want this to happen. 25 grand. I kind of want you to push in this direction. 10%, 20%, maybe even 30% of the people that watch him might go, yeah, I follow true crime. This guy's full of shit. The other 70% are going to take it sacrosanct. It's like, hey, man, this is a news program. They wouldn't lie to you, right? And this is TMZ. Like, if they don't have a source, who has a source? TMZ is also the same outfit that said president's going to pardon or commute that sentence, right? Diddy's getting out. They reported it. Sources at the White House said by this Friday or next Friday, Sean Combs is going to have his sentence commuted at that day, people. I'm not trying to sound, yeah, I am trying to sound cool. I don't care. But I said, hey, man. This is one of those, I don't know. Don't let me go off on a tangent. But TMZ's a joke. Harvey Levin's a joke. This is an embarrassment. But it's an embarrassment that has the ability to sway people, right? There were all kinds of people all over the place. You know how many YouTubers were putting stuff up going, hey, the president's going to pardon or commute his sentence. I said to people that day, does that pass the smell test? After I talked about this afternoon, people left comments that said if they gave them enough money, presidents can't take money or gifts. And I promise you, every call he makes is recorded. That was before office and after office. Same with you. Trust me, I went to court and had them pull my phone records from years earlier to show me text messages. And I'm just a piece of shit convict. They're recording everything, right? Everything. You're not going to give the president money, whether you like him or not. I don't care what president it is. Give him a gift. They have to go down, report it. It goes into a storage thing, and you can't take gifts as presidents. You can't take cash. There's nothing that he could do for any president, Republican or Democrat, that would get him out. Right? No juice card, no nothing. And you're a sex freak. If you were a white-collar criminal, if you were any of that, I'd sit here and go, yep, you could buy that pardon, I promise you. You're a sex freak. You beat a girl up on film. It ain't going to happen. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? It's just, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to people that keep going, no, he can do it. How? It makes no sense. Critical think this, people. And someone said, well, he loves money more than anything. He's the guy that says he's a better president than George Washington. What he loves more than anything is his name, his image, and his legacy. You think he's going to let out somebody that beats up and rapes kids and women? Allegedly. That's what the guy did. He continues to deny it. He sure as hell beat up Cassie Ventura. I had to see that video. Sunshine Lady, that is very kind. I appreciate the support. I really do. Keeps me doing research, folks. Especially when you got to pay Harvey Levin to see that stupid damn. You guys didn't have to pay. You're all most of you are in the United States. But if you're outside of the U.S., you kind of got to work at that. What a waste of money. All right. So there is another, and if you have a Harvey Levin question or you have a question about that case, I'll take it. But there's something that we all need to talk about because this one's coming up, and this is creepy. In Ephrata, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, cat by the name of Jonathan Gerlach, 34 years old. Jonathan Gerlach has been arrested following a months-long investigation into grave robberies at the Mount Moriah Cemetery in Yeadon, Delaware County. This is a cemetery that has kind of gone to seed, right? It's huge, man. It actually goes into like 2 counties. This is a massive-ass graveyard, but there's not a huge budget to take care of it anymore. So it's kind of overgrown, probably make a decent spot for a horror movie. But this dude starts going in there at night with a pry bar over to the mausoleums, right? You understand this is a concept. You can bury people or you can do mausoleums. And mausoleums sometimes look like it's just a wall and every little square's got a casket behind it. Then there are mausoleums that are done just for families, and it might just be a building that looks like a small-ass church or something like that, and it'll have, 5 or 6 coffins inside. This jackwagon is going in there, right, and stealing bodies. Now, if your first thought is, hey, man, well, Kimberly's first thought's probably closer to reality. Sounds a little like Ed Gein. Yeah, right? Ed Gein. Yeah. He has been the inspiration for a lot of horror movies, including the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the Buffalo Bill character from Silence of the Lambs. If you've never seen that movie, shame on you. Mike Bragg says, one thing you may have learned about TMZ is don't waste your time watching. You know what's sad? You kind of, what a country, says Odin. How about this? Going in there and ripping off bodies and taking them home is creepy as hell. Small mummified children. They found a torso. They found just feet, legs, but altogether about 100 corpses were found in his house. 100. Now, my first thought was, look, you know what? Especially back in the day, they'd bury a guy with a Rolex on. They would, and I'm not saying I would go out and do this. So before I get all the hate mail, man, Tommy's robbing graves. You know how trolls are. But you understand that there are sick bastards that would go, wow, if I could get if there's a gold one in there, it could be worth $100,000. One of the really old ones from back in the day in perfect condition could be worth a lot of money. You're kind of playing roulette and rolling the dice to see what people might have been buried with. Very large diamond rings that people were buried with back in the day. Not justifying it, just from a sick bastard point of view, you can understand how doing this for a living might be something that someone would want to do. Apparently, that wasn't what Jonathan Gerlach was up to. This guy, when it all comes out in the wash, may be the sickest bastard we've ever seen. He robbed graves of veterans, just creepy stuff. He had some of these people kind of being reassembled at his house, allegedly, which sounds very Ed Gein as well. He also had some hanging up, and they were staking out the place. They thought they might know who was doing it, but they were staking out the graveyard, and they caught this loser in the act. And when they ran up to his car, he had, I don't know, half a dozen or so skulls and skeletons and such in the backseat of his car. You can't make this shit up. Honest to God, what is happening in this country, man? Why in the name of God? And I mean, why in the name of God does anyone do this? Is there a necrophiliac element? Maybe. But a lot of these things, like if you're talking about, a grave that's 100 years old, that's probably not where you're going. There are people that buy this kind of shit. Maybe that was the goal, but he had a storage facility that had 8 corpses in it, or full skeletons or whatever. Because all of these, hello, Heather, all of these were in different stages of decomposition. Yeah, Wendy R. I'm sorry, that may be the greatest commentary, right? I think this one sums it up. She says, what the French toast? Yeah, what is going on? How twisted and nasty is that? No vets. Yeah, Mimi, vets. Here's the good news on that, though. You hear about stuff like this and you go, God, man, I hope they throw the book at this dude. How about 500 charges? This man is being charged with 500 counts. 100, good Lord, man. 100 counts of each abuse of a corpse, receiving stolen property, plus multiple counts of burglary, criminal trespass, and desecration of a public monument and theft. Good God in heaven, man. Here's the craziest part. This started November 7th. You hear 108 bodies and you go, how long has this sick bastard been doing this? This started on, allegedly, this is what they're reporting out of the office of the Delaware County prosecutors or whatever. Hey, Jen, good to have you here. This is what they said. November 7th, it started. They busted him 2 days ago. Man, you're a busy fool. You are a busy fool. You got to be jacking what? 3 corpses a day, somewhere in there, right? 2 to 3 corpses a day. You're a sick, sick human being. Yeah, 500 counts. Here's the thing. Let's say you get 2 years apiece. You just got to pray this guy goes, and I'm going to run them. Concurrently. Consecutive is not so good. That means you got to do one before you start the next sentence. The fellas call that running wild or bow-legged. She gave me 2 5s, bow-legged. Tommy, you're smart. The world is coming to an end, and so everything will come to light. I tend to agree with you on that. Imagine what he hasn't been busted on. Wendy R., right? I said the exact same thing to Johnny Scoville when this came up on the screen. I'm like, you think this is his first go-around? You think he goes, I might try to rob a grave or do something like that. And then you go, yeah, I'm going to take 108 of them. Just getting started. This is a good time. I'm enjoying this. They did find a small stash of jewelry and things that have been taken off of people. But the way it's described, it doesn't sound like that was his goal. I mean, if you're in there looking for jewelry, why take the damn body home? Right? That doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. Yeah, Wendy R. says, nope, not his first. No, and I don't know, man. Fascination with corpses. Hey, Andrew B. Fascination with corpses scares the hell out of me, man. It's terrifying to me that this exists. Serial killers, that's bad wiring, right? Obviously, there are people out there that for whatever reason, hey, Jen Feinberg, that there are people out there that feel like this is all right. I can go out, I can kill someone, whatever. What's the motivation? And I've said this before. I don't understand serial killers. A guy goes home and finds his wife in bed with another guy. He grabs his pistol and he shoots them. I'm not saying it makes sense, but I'm saying I can understand why it happens. But a guy that's walking down the street and sees someone walking on the other side and goes, I think I'm going to kill him. And in 5 days, I'm going to kill another one. And then maybe in 2 weeks, I'll kill another one. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? I understand why people snap. What Nick Reiner did doesn't make sense to me. Pennsylvania is boring. Sorry, my morbid sense of humor. If you don't laugh, you will go mad. There's something to that. And here's the thing. You can pick on Pennsylvania, but if I say blank man, first thing you're going to say is Florida. Not beating on any of my friends from Florida, but if you just type in Florida man, you want to go down a rabbit hole sometime, Google Florida man, and it will give you every single article ever written about someone that got arrested. Florida man robs 7-Eleven with an alligator, like that kind of thing. You could do Florida woman too, but it's none of it makes sense. Look, let's be really honest. If any of this stuff did make sense, I'd probably be a janitor somewhere. The reason that I have a channel is because we like to get together and try to make sense of things that don't make any sense. This cat, this Gerlach cat, I'm going to cover this because there is nothing about this that's going to make sense to any of us. And I would like to hear the experts explain to me what kind of sick puppy goes out and steals mummified, remains of 2-month-old, 6-month-old kids. This is a dude that Florida man versus masshole. I wonder who'd come out on top. And for I can't answer that question, but it's a damn good one. And if it isn't the best, it's still a damn good one. I think serial killers are chasing a dragon just like junkies. They're trying to get the buzz that they got the first time they did it. Oh, there's something to that, right? This is absolutely a very interesting point because there's so much of what serial killers do matches addictive behavior. You look at some of the classic ones, right? Like John Wayne Gacy or Bundy or any of the ones that sort of became famous. They're very meticulous. They're very methodical. They've got a way to do it. This is how they become a serial killer. You got to whack 3 people, right? So in order to get away with that and not get caught on the first one, you kind of have to have your shit together in some way. But all of them start to get the habit. All of them start to go a little bit harder to the paint, right? And the more that they kill, the more they kind of need to kill. And it becomes, it's very similar to addiction, Johnny. I think you kind of nailed that. Florida true crime followers roll their eyes and say, no kidding. Yeah. There's an author, and I can't think of his damn name. He writes about a serial killer named Serge. Someone will put it in there. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but I've read every one of these guys' books. They're just so damn funny, man. But he writes about these 2 guys from Florida, and one of them's name is Serge. He's a serial killer. Before you go, it's a series about a serial killer. He's a very funny one. And he knows everything there is to know about Florida, and he just kind of talks all day about it. Odin says, forcing young children to dissect animals in school with peer pressure does not help them in a biological way at all, but is considered a serial killer trait, psychologically speaking. Yes, they like to cut things up, right? Very often animals and things like that, they wet the bed. They like to start fires, that kind of stuff. We teach our children in school, it's scientifically proven a dog cannot retain time, so humanity is perfectly fine with dog tacos and wonder why all of the animal shelters are full. I'll tell you what, you're in the right place. If you want to find people that believe that all animals ought to be adopted, you're probably on the right channel. This is a channel that is populated by people that love animals. I am a great rescuer of animals. Big fan of them. My wife even more. My wife is she's got this Dr. Doolittle thing going on, and if I would let her get a cow, she would. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We're all good. Hopefully she's already left. All right, people. I'm going to follow this Gerlach thing. I'm also going to be talking a lot more tomorrow, because what I'm going to do is now try to chase down anything that Harvey Levin said. I was able to really go over the stuff in the first 15 to 30 minutes of the documentary, taking notes so that I can go and start chasing this stuff down. But the biggest takeaway of this is that this was a complete and utter sham. Hey, Chicka Cherry Cola, I'm sorry it was. Anytime somebody promises you something and doesn't deliver it, I mean, it could be a dope dealer. It could be anything. But if they say, this is what I'm going to do, and they don't come through with it, man, it makes you kind of hunker back to prison, where that kind of thing gets you hit in the head with something. Because what this does is this turns the murder of Michelle and Rob Reiner into a business. And there are going to be jackwagons who are going to leave comments going, isn't that what you're doing? Not by saying COVID, rape, sexual assault, and all the things you can't say. I don't give a shit. I do this because it's fun. I love that people support me, but this is a place for people that are into true crime and are tired of listening to the BS, can come and talk about things that and discuss things without someone that's going to crap on you for your opinion or anything else. That's kind of my get down, is what it is. Andrew, I love that. Be safe, everybody. Listen, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I promise you we're going to be covering the TMZ documentary in much more detail. I will be chasing that down as much as possible. And I promise you things are going to break on a lot of these stories that are coming up. Look for Will Smith tomorrow. There's some really interesting stuff happening in the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Keep my wife's name out your mother-loving mouth. I will see everybody tomorrow. Between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart. And do me a favor, watch that damn documentary. I had to. I'm Tommy. God bless. Have a good night.